Hi there, everybody. I am here with Chris Syme of Ultimate Golf Service. And I'm really delighted to chat to Chris about his business success. He's been in the industry for a significant amount of time, and it's in the leisure and sporting industry and tourism. So it's another unique business to this interview series. So welcome, Chris. How are you today?
I'm very well, Steph. Yourself?
Very well, and great to have you. So tell us a little bit about your business journey, please, Chris.
Sure. Well, the name of the business is Ultimate Golf Service. I'm a golf tour operator, and that covers quite a lot of different things rather than just simply being a case of sitting in an office dealing with golf packages, as maybe some of the larger golf tour operators might do. I think the majority of the industry that I'm in, the businesses that are in that industry, are probably more like me than the large ones that most people know. And that is people who know and love Scotland, know and love golf and the country and the history and all the other things that go along with Scotland, a bit of whiskey for a lot of people coming from abroad. My business is about people contacting me, asking me, oh, I'd like to play St Andrews, I'd like to play Carnoustie, I'd like to see a little bit of the country, being sometimes precise, more often a little bit inexact in what they're looking for, and then just giving them my now 20 years experience in the industry as to, based on their individual circumstance, what they might like to do with their time that they've got on their holiday, and make some suggestions that would make their time as most beneficial and useful as possible.
Fantastic. And what's the most interesting or exciting package that you've arranged to date?
Most exciting and interesting package. Well, there's so many different ones, it's hard to pick one. The first one that came to mind was a client from last year who was a former Prime Minister of a foreign country who had a group of 18 people in total, a couple of which were bodyguards. I think there were 3 of them, was it just 2? And they wanted to stay.
The bodyguards play golf?
No, they didn't. No, they were there very much as part of the detail of the high-ranking diplomat that he was as a former Prime Minister, and family. And it was quite interesting because it was a mix of golf for a small number of them, including the main man, and sort of cultural thing and shopping as the sort of family and might want to do some of the younger members. And it was the gents that were golfing, so the ladies were not golfing, and they wanted to enjoy Edinburgh. So there was all sorts of things to be organised on that trip. Some nice golf courses, some high-class chauffeur driving, seeing a little bit of the country, a trip to St Andrews, basing themselves in Edinburgh in the Balmoral Hotel, and having some nice meals, tours of the city, all these sorts of things. So that was well within what it is that I normally do. So they were quite happy to enjoy that.
Fantastic. And what courses are the most requested from outside tourists? Yeah, well, go on then, tell me.
Well, obviously the old course, I get asked about that all the time. Yeah. And the old course itself has a difficult position in that they know that they could fill that course over 10 times a day with the number of requests that they get. But of course they can't do that. So they try to make it as fair as possible. But it's difficult to get people there, but it's certainly possible. There's lots of other golf courses, and my feeling is that I'd recommend to play the non-known golf courses. If you're outside Scotland, that is, a lot of local golfers will know where the best courses to play are, but a lot of people come to the country won't. So that's where some of my help can come in.
Okay. And what would you what's ahead for you in the business at the moment? What are you looking ahead for? What's the challenge? What's coming up for Ultimate Golf Service?
Yeah, good question, actually, because the industry has changed quite a little bit in recent years with the lockdown restrictions that caused millions, billions probably of lost income to this country and obviously across the world. and it, like any large change in the business environment, had a change in the market. Things have recovered now. They've bounced back immensely, I have to say. People with the pent-up desire to travel are now fulfilling that and coming to Scotland. And the challenge for me is probably dealing with all these extra people, because there are so many people coming that as someone who historically over the 20 years has been gathering a lot of experience, but not necessarily been working at full capacity, I'm now working at full capacity and quite enjoying that side of it, I have to say. But I have to make sure that I can get back to my clients as efficiently and in the time that they might expect to get back to. And apologies if there's anyone who has not had that at the moment, but we are. That is the main challenge for me right now. But from my point of view, it's good. From the point of view of the clients, it's maybe not so good. I think prices are going up everywhere, and obviously that affects us as much as anywhere. Green fee prices have gone up hugely, but hopefully the clients that we're dealing with understand that and adjust their expectations as normal.
What
So
kind
that's
of
one thing.
percentage increases are you seeing?
Right, let's see if I can think of an example. It varies course to course. Some courses have barely increased their price, probably along with regular inflation. And many of the smaller courses in particular have remained fairly steady with their price increases of a standard green fee. The larger courses in particular, I say larger as in most well known, the ones with the highest green fee, they've seen the highest increases as well. I think to give you one example, King's Barnes, when I started, would probably have been in the region of around 100 and something 20 years ago. This year it's sitting at £374 around.
Right.
It was certainly, I think, £175 for Turnberry or something like that, maybe about 15 years ago. And that, when I spoke to them earlier on in the week for a group that were looking to come in May, they were looking at prices at May or June, it was, for £475.
Okay.
The majority of those increases have happened over the last sort of 4 years or so. So yeah, it's that's quite a jump if you're thinking it as a percentage term, and that's just for one round of golf. But those are the ones at the top of the tree. It's not like most courses. You can get onto some really good courses in Scotland for under £100.
Okay. So you've got to love that sport then, don't you?
You still love that sport. You sure do. And
how
so
often,
many do.
How often do you actually play yourself?
Very rarely. Very rarely. I wish I could play more. For the aforementioned reasons of being super busy, I just cannot get out into the golf course at the moment. Just so much to do.
And if you could, what would be your course of choice?
Right, well, I get asked that now and again. The answer I've tended to come up with over the years was Prestwick Golf Club, which is the oldest golf. Well, it's not the oldest golf club in Scotland, but it's one of the oldest. And I meant to say it is the original venue for the Open Championship, having hosted the first ever Open, known outside of the UK sometimes as the British Open, in 1860. And it still hosted the Open Championship more than any other golf course other than the old course itself. And yet it hasn't hosted it since, I think, 1925. But that's because it hosted so many of the early championships between 1860 and 1925. I think it's 16 times it has hosted the Open Championship in that time. It is too small in terms of the space between the fairways and the next hole adjacent to it and so forth to deal with the modern logistics of the corporate village and the hospitality and the galleries and all the rest that goes along with an Open Championship these days. But as a course to play, I think it's beautiful. As a links course, it's fantastic.
That's a great answer. That'd be really interesting for a lot of people to hear about. So moving on to yourself and business, what would you say is your biggest lesson to date?
Yeah, biggest lesson. I think be honest with the people that you're dealing with. There is a sort of fake it till you make it type of saying some people have used. And there was a certain amount of that in the early days in order, as someone with no experience, to maybe try to win over certain clients or impress certain businesses that I could bring business to them or work in the supply chain with them. But generally speaking, I would say over and above that, honesty is the best policy. And it's something I've applied, throughout with clients and businesses. And I think just a general friendly straightforwardness and knowing that you're doing the best you can for the client is probably the way to go. That's been the best way I've found to do business. And I would maybe say along with that, relax a little bit. You can work yourself ragged, but it's about maybe a bit of a work-life balance to a certain extent. We're in business in order to enjoy life as best you can, and that can pass you by if you don't take just a little bit of time to breathe.
Brilliant. And if you were to go back to your 18-year-old self, what kind of advice would you give that young Chris then?
Well, I've got to be honest. As someone who was in education and then went straight into running his own business, which as someone who was naive and thinking business would be easy just to set up and it would all be super easy with no experience in business, I would suggest that you want to spend quite a bit of time in your early working years in the proper employment market and just learn from business around you, whether that be a small business or a large business, or perhaps ideally a little bit of both, because there's different cultures in each. If that is you're looking to strike out on your own, still maybe do that for a little while before you then go ahead with your idea, unless of course your idea can't wait and it's time dependent. But that would be for me what I would have suggested that I should have done, to have, rather than going into business, self-employment, gone straight into employment, which I did after a short while of self-employment when it didn't work. And then I found myself yearning to be an entrepreneur again. That's what I'd say.
Thank you. And lastly, how can people find you? Is there any news or offers you would like people to know about? How can they help? How can they engage in working with you if this kind of was something that they were interested in? Or maybe somebody in the US is watching this now and thinking, Chris is the man for me. How can they find you?
Well, I hope so. Yeah, certainly in a good position to help anyone from across the world. It's very easy. There's 3 words: Ultimate Golf Service, and it's the brand. I am not saying I am the ultimate golf service. I'm aiming to be that, and certainly I get a lot of great feedback from my clients. You Google that, you'll probably find ultimategolfservice.com. You'll find the Ultimate Golf Service on all the other usual platforms, and I'd love people to click and subscribe to the social media channels, especially YouTube, even if it's not the most exciting channel to watch, just a little bit of pictures of golf courses and stuff. But if that floats your boat, then by all means do so. It costs nothing.
So they've got YouTube is Ultimate Golf Service as well to catch you there.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to these days. So we've got the YouTube channel, obviously there's Twitter, and there's a number of brands that I'm a part of that I'll not go into at the moment, but Ultimate Golf Service is the main one, and ultimategolfservice.com is the main place to get in touch with us. And Chris@ultimategolfservice.com is the email.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, it's been really interesting to hear a little bit of, or a little capture into your world of golf and arranging golf in the business world. So thank you very much, and wishing you all the very best, Chris, in the future.
Very welcome, Steph. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you.